The federal skilled worker stream is considered to be an ultimately important and successful stream by the IRCC. As a matter of fact, majority of invitations or ITAs were issued to candidates under FSW. FSW is indeed convenient because under FSW, the candidate does not necessarily need to have a job offer or a provincial nomination or Canadian experience, nor need to be an international student to be invited. The onus of the FSW is essentially that the candidate achieves on average about 400 CRS, and even there were times that IRCC invited much lower score than 400. Now this was the case before the pandemic. When pandemic hit in 2020, IRCC decided that they will no longer, for the time being at least we hope, invite candidates from the FSW stream, mainly because of the pandemic precautions. Even if the IRCC was able to invite a certain candidate from the FSW and the candidate was all successful in achieving or completing the documentations and the biometrics amidst all the ragnarok of precautions globally, the landing within Canada or the borders of Canada becomes a question because of the major and many and various precautions. Even the brand of vaccine that the candidate or the person who will land becomes a question, really. So there are specific brands that the country accepts, and there are specific brands that the country does not necessarily accept as, acceptable, I guess. So that was the main reason that FSW candidate invitations were refrained from being invited. So then the IRCC decided that they will focus on inviting candidates from within Canada. So these are candidates who are on temporary residence permit and have got the intention to transition to being a permanent resident. These are candidates who have got Canadian experience, who are interested or decided to essentially transition to being a PR. Even provincial nominees and international students were the candidates that became the focus of IRCC, mainly because these candidates are either already in Canada or are essentially required to land in Canada. And therefore, the concept or the idea is that if you are under FSW and you do have a high score of about 400, let's say, the possibility or the probability of you receiving an invitation to apply for PR becomes absolutely difficult and limited because of the current regulation of IRCC to not invite candidates under FSW. As a matter of fact, FSW candidates, the last invitations were issued back in December 2020, and IRCC did not release any information as yet or press release on when they will resume inviting candidates under FSW. And there we all have to remember that IRCC have got a mandate. They have a mandate to essentially invite so many people and increase the population of the country by so much in so many years. For example, in 2022, this year, the country is looking at welcoming 411,000 people and 421,000 new immigrants in 2023. Now the question is, even if you are able to achieve the FSW score of about 400, really, it is not sufficient for you to be invited. You have to have a bit more of strategy in order for you to be invited by IRCC. So there are 3 strategies for you to implement in order for you to receive or achieve that ITA from IRCC in 2022. The first one is, well, you will have to truly be aggressive on your job search in Canada, so that this job employment offer becomes another push for the IRCC for you to be invited with ITA. And truly, job offer is the most ideal amongst these 3 because this is the least expensive. Yes, it may take time and other resources from you, but it does not cost so much money. When it comes to job search, I certainly recommend you to be strategic on your job search. You don't necessarily have to be a rocket scientist for you to find a job here, most especially if you are a healthcare worker looking in New Brunswick alone, there are so much need of caregivers here. There are companies that do not necessarily require you to be a nurse or a registered nurse, but you have to have a certain certificate to show that you do have the education to be a caregiver. You have to search. It's just a matter of searching, really. Another thing that you have to consider is do not find job in a province that is highly competitive. I have mentioned this in my past videos. Searching a job in Ontario or in BC or in Alberta, these are provinces that are truly competitive. They have got so many skilled, highly skilled people and workers who can do the job, and these guys are, you know, licensed here, licensed there. They have got all the Canada experience, so it becomes very limited and very competitive for you to find a job in such very popular provinces, most especially Ontario. As a matter of fact, Ontario is the most popular destination for immigrants, then BC, then Quebec, and Alberta. And that is according to Statista. If you look here in Nova Scotia all the way down to Yukon and Northwest Territories, these provinces or territories have got the least amount of immigrants. And the lesser the amount of immigrants or people that you have in a certain province, the less competitive it is. And therefore, the less competitive a certain province is or a certain location is, the higher the opportunity that you create for yourself. So that's just one of the, I guess, ideas that you have to consider when you search for a job. The second strategy is provincial nomination. I was able to move or immigrate to Canada through provincial nomination, and there were a lot of the disciplines that I had to implement for myself in order for me to truly find and achieve that provincial nomination. And I do intend to also share with you the disciplines that I had to implement onto myself that allowed me to essentially have or receive that provincial nomination paper. 250,000 people are expected to obtain Canadian permanent residence through a provincial nominee program between 2021 and 2023. Provincial nominee programs are the fastest growing economic Canadian immigration pathway. Over recent years, the federal government has gradually increased provinces' annual allocations for their respective PNPs. 250,000 immigrants are expected to immigrate to Canada from 2021 and between 2021 and 2023. And because of this huge number, we cannot deny how important the PNP is. As a matter of fact, the government is increasing the allocations of provinces when it comes to PNP. And since the government is putting so much attention, focus, and importance on PNP, you must follow where the road leads. You also have to truly think of the PNP or the provincial nomination program that would suit you best. And there are so many PNPs within Canada. You just have to truly allocate time, resources, and you will have to allocate so much reading on articles, on forums, on various social media groups. You just have to open your mind and yes, allocate resources and time. Time is the most important allocation you can make on your dream to immigrate to Canada. As a matter of fact, there are over 80 active provincial nomination programs across Canada. Over 80. And these are all active provincial nomination programs. Could you imagine how much opportunities are there within your grasp? You just have to allocate time and truly read these programs. With this over 80 active provincial nominations, you will certainly, you can only think positively that you will find just one. You only need one amongst these 80 active provincial nomination, and that one will lead you to your destination. And the third strategy you can implement is, well, you can be an international student. Now, I have intentionally listed this strategy as the third one or the last one because, well, international students do pay a lot. The provinces do gain a lot of income from international students, and it is quite expensive, really. But then, if you do have the resources and you are willing to allocate resources on being an international student, then why not do it? So far, according to my research, the least expensive college or school within Canada is NBCC, or the New Brunswick Community College, and this is thus far the tuition at NBCC ranges between 11 and 12,000 per annum, and that is the cheapest. If you go to a province that is more popular, such as Ontario or BC or Alberta, then this could be higher. This school in the New Brunswick is, I guess, one of the cheapest colleges that you could go to as an international student. So the point of the matter is that if you choose to live in another province, this could be more expensive. And again, being an international student can be very expensive. You could cut, I guess, you could cut the cost of the international student pathway if you have a partner. Your partner could be an open work permit person, and then an open work permit person can work, full-time, and then the other person could be the student, and the student can work as well part-time, which is about 20 hours in a week. Through this strategy, you can certainly make it happen. In such a situation, there are two people responsible for the cost of tuition and maintenance and everything else, and miscellaneous, everything else in between. If you are a single person, it is still doable, but then it will be just yourself who will be responsible for all the expenses there is. Now, when you choose a school, it's not just the idea that you receive an LOA or a student permit from the government. Choosing a school goes deeper than that. You have to consider that if the province is friendly with international students, if the school has got PGWP. As a matter of fact, I did a video about factors that you have to consider when you choose a school. I want to cite an example here. For example, in British Columbia have got a stream for international students, but in their stream, they require that the student have a full-time job offer, and it is indeterminate, meaning it is full-time, it's not contractual, and it is certainly something that will go on forever and ever. So that essentially becomes, a struggle or a hurdle, because you have to have a job offer in BC, which is quite a competitive market. If I compare that in New Brunswick, there are two options. Either there is a job offer, and note that it does not specifically mention the offer to be full-time or contract. Just a plain job offer is sufficient, and this is much lenient than BC. And the second option is that the program of the student should have PGWP, or the postgraduate work permit, which is normally the case if you apply at a DLI school. And because of this, having options for international students and becomes absolutely student friendly when it comes to PR application for student. So then the point of the matter is that when you choose a school, it goes way beyond just cost, or just the popularity of a province, or just the LOA to be provided to you. You have to dig deeper than that. The province will have to be absolutely friendly when it comes to international students. The province should have a history of various and variety of pathways that it has opened and relaunched for international students, because if this is the case, then there is a higher probability that you could be a PR in Canada through that school. So those are the three strategies that you must consider seriously if you are serious enough to truly immigrate here in Canada. Again, being a candidate on FSW, or the Federal Skilled Worker, is not enough. These days, the IRCC did not release any information as yet on when they will invite candidates from FSW, and as such, right now you have to think of what are the strategies that you can implement in order for you to be invited this year, and hopefully after your invitation, after a year and a half, 2 years, you'll be able to land in Canada. It took me about after receiving my ITA, it took me about a year and a half to process everything.
Thank you very much indeed. I hope that you gained value in this video and in my channel. I certainly hope to see you in my next video.